Well, hello rally friends. What a week we have had here in the Jyväskylä region of Finland, testing with the Toyota team and the Hyundai World Rally team. Well, listen, yesterday for the Oittanak test, we were on perhaps the most famous stage in the world, Onninpoja. And today, for our little recap of the week, we've come to maybe the most iconic position within that stage. You can tell where we are, can't you? That's the yellow house behind us, and the yellow house jump with the cars. Well, I think it's about 80 meters or so they fly over that jump. It really is the most magnificent spot. So, what do we want to talk about here? Well, we want to talk about perhaps what we've learned in the past 4 days of testing. It's very difficult, really, to evaluate who's got the most out of 4 days. But we'll start really from the start of the week. The first driver onto the stages, well, it was Toyota, wasn't it, on the Monday with Kalle Rovanperä. And I have to say, Rovanperä was like a kid in a sweet shop. He had a perfect day for testing. What was interesting was that the 3 days of Toyota testing, 3 different drivers, obviously, same car, but very different roads. Now, I'm pretty certain there would have been a reason behind that, maybe for the engineers to work on 1 or 2 development pieces with the car, but very different roads. And Rovanperä's road, well, do you know what, it was kind of quite Nagery. There wasn't really an awful lot that was Finland about it, but he absolutely loved it. Before lunchtime, he'd done 120 kilometers, and Rovanperä, as I say, he just is absolutely drinking it all in just now. He's a very, very young man with just the most incredible opportunity, but the most incredible talent. And we all know that with Rovanperä. And, it's difficult to work out what the timeline's going to be in terms of Rovanperä's progress, but we're hearing lots about this year. He's had a remarkable start to the year. We're hearing lots about changes to the calendar, new rallies coming in. That could suit Rovanperä. When it comes down to a level playing field, he is the one that is on the rise in terms of his performance. If we level the playing field out by putting new rallies in, who knows what Rovanperä can do for the rest of the year? What we do know from the test is that he is remarkably professional. For a young man who you would think could get very, very excited, maybe overdrive the car, maybe make mistakes, it doesn't seem to happen. Rovanperä is maturing, and it was great to see him in that car on Monday. We then went on to Tuesday, and the champ, listen, I know, should I still call him the champ? He's always going to be the champ to me, even although last year's champion was Oittanak. Sebastian Ogier turned up cool as you like. He really was looking magnificently fit and well and relaxed. And he used a section of test road. For Rovanperä, we were just to the north of Korpilahti. And as I said, it was what you would call one of the narrower, smaller roads here in Finland. Ogier, he was on one of the classic test roads to the south of Korpilahti, around about 30-35 minutes or so outside of Jyväskylä. Now, if you remember in recent history, that road's been used a lot over the years for testing. But most famously, perhaps, Alexei Lukanyuk on the Monday test before Rally Finland, his big chance in Rally Finland in a World Rally car. First pass on that stage. There's a double jump, a beautiful double jump in the middle of it. Got it wrong over the first jump, absolutely disastrously wrong over the second, and rolled his Fiesta into a ball of scrap. Well, that's the road that we were on. It's also the road that I got absolutely scared witless on, by Hayden Paddon a few years ago. But Ogier, well, he took to that road and he enjoyed himself. You could see the first few runs, he was quite tentative, really quite tentative. And when we talked to him at lunchtime, he said, yeah, I was a little bit nervous. And what he said was, you know what, every time you come to Finland, you get surprised by how quick it is. Now, with a 3-month break out of the car, clearly you're straight onto those Finnish roads with nothing in the intervening 3 months. And it took him a little while to get up to speed, but again, he used his day productively. They're not preparing, are they, for Rally Finland this year? But there's 2 things that are really, really important for all of our drivers this week. One was to get back behind the wheel and just to feel as if things are beginning to move again. But the other is that we don't know how this calendar is going to look for the remainder of the year. There's an awful lot of talk about Estonia, there's talk about Latvia. All 5 of our drivers who have tested this week will take benefit from this test into, if we go to Estonia, certainly Estonia, and probably Latvia as well, should we go to Latvia. So yeah, Ogier looked good. Ogier is a man who, don't forget, you know, it's a new team, Toyota, for him, but he's taken to it. He really has. And what he said to us at the lunchtime on that day of testing was, do you know what? I can see why Toyota have dominated this event for the past few years. You know, he's driven a Citroen here. He's driven a Fiesta here. He's driven a Toyota, and it was quite clear which of those three cars he thought was best suited to these roads. And if there's one driver that really regrets the fact, they all regret the fact that we're not going to get a Rally Finland this year. But Ogier, in the position he's in the championship, with the momentum that he has also got, he could have done very, very well here this year. Although you'd have to say it's never been his favourite rally. He's never had perhaps the strongest of results. He has won it, but he's also had a few issues here in the past. But he looks good. The important thing from Ogier's point of view, and what we can deduce from his test day, is that he is getting more and more comfortable in that car. There is more to come from Ogier, and as he leads the championship, that is not good news for his rivals. So we then moved on to Wednesday. Wednesday was Elfyn Evans, and again, you know, a driver who has had a remarkable start to the year, is very, very much a contender for the championship this year. Learning the car that day, so important. More seat time. 2 days he's had competitively on gravel in that car. Friday and Saturday in Mexico. Really important, the seat time for Elfyn Evans. But again, tentative at the start of his test, but he got quicker, he got more confident. Was he as relaxed as Ogier? Well, probably not, because Evans knows the importance, the absolute importance of making the most of every single kilometre in this car, because he has got a chance this year at the title, but he needs to feel at one with that car. What we saw in Monte Carlo on the final day, the first 2 days, the road suited him, the car was perfect, he was unstoppable. Third day in Monte Carlo, so the last day in Monte Carlo, different characteristics to the road. The car was performing differently, and he didn't feel so good. And he throttled back and he went into not quite safety mode. That would be unfair. So, you know, there is still a lot to learn in that car for Elfyn Evans. He had a good day. I think in summary, having talked to Tommi Mäkinen, it was a fantastic test for Toyota. They got a lot of kilometres in. They had 3 happy drivers. Now, we move on to Hyundai. Who needed this test more than anyone this week? Well, there's no question. It was Thierry Neuville. Massive crash, and my goodness me, it was huge. Probably the second biggest crash of his career, behind the one that he had in Chile around about 12 months ago. Here last week on testing, and you know, he told us what happened. You go backwards and forwards on these test roads, and as you go through corners, you begin to dig out the corners, and embedded rocks appear. They get bigger, they get bigger, they get bigger. The car takes the rock, it takes it. Next time it hits it, bang, you're thrown across the road. That's what happened. 6th gear, very fast, car more or less destroyed. They had to suspend the test. He needed a good day's testing here, and he got a good day's testing. But here's the thing. Here's the thing why I think Toyota Hyundai were so frustrated last week. This was a big development test for them. It really wasn't just a test for Neuville and for Tanak to get back in the car to blow away those lockdown cobwebs. It was a test to develop the aero on that car, because that car has not performed here. It's not really performed on high-speed gravel. It struggled to perform to its maximum capabilities, and at times you would argue the drivers have had to overdrive the car to compensate for the lack of performance on the high-speed gravel. The issue has been turning. So really it's aero, it's how that car grips the road. And what we saw from the Neuville test, and then more so from the Tanak test, was really quite radical changes to the front and rear aero on that Hyundai. But yeah, important that Neuville got back into the car, important he had a clean, tidy test day. Didn't do quite so many kilometres, we gather. He was stopping, he was doing one run basically. All these roads were out, turn the car around, come back. He was stopping for long periods between runs. He wasn't often doing more than effectively one out and back. So I'm not entirely sure how many Ks he got in, but I don't think he got quite as many Ks as the other boys, but it was a good test for him. He went away happy. And then we move to Oit Tanak, who had one day in the smaller roads on Wednesday, and then on the Thursday, yesterday, he went to Onimpoya, and that's where we went to catch up with him. What can we say about yesterday? I'll tell you how Oit Tanak looked and sounded. Supremely confident is how he looked and sounded. He was remarkably relaxed, and in the stage, committed for a test stage. The commitment was just quite breathtaking. This was a fast section of road, rarely out of 5th, 6th gear, big jumps, really needed to be brave, lots of blind crests in there, and he was absolutely flying, and millimetre perfect, as you would expect, through those corners. But as I say, what was very obvious to us, and we filmed quite a bit of slow-mo in that stage, was this, particularly the rear aero, those changes to the rear aero pods and the extra little winglets on the front of the car, all designed to try at high speed and give that car a little more stability, a little bit more confidence to the drivers on high speed turning. Not that Tanak needs any more confidence. He's a man that needs to come out of the box flying, wherever we might start again. Now, it could be Estonia, we don't know where it's going to be, but he needs to. He's the man playing catch-up. He had that disaster in Monte Carlo, and with a shortened season, you know, if you have one no score in a season of 12 or 13 or 14 rounds, well, that's not disastrous. You know, you can make that up over the other rounds. If we have a 7-round season, one no score is enormously punishing, and he knows that. So if he wants to retain his title, there's no room for him to slowly find his way into that car. It's a new car to him. It's a car that on certain rallies has issues. He has to ignore those issues and drive the car flat out. But from his demeanour, from his look in the stages, they made progress. They made big progress, I suspect, over their, well, what would it have been? It was 2 days for Tanak. It was a full day for Neuville, plus that half day with a crash. 3.5 days of testing. So what can we say about the 3 days for Hyundai of testing? Well, it was 3 days this week, wasn't it? Plus the half day. So it was 3.5 days of development testing. The drivers have blown away those lockdown cobwebs, that is for sure. Hyundai have made progress. That will be encouraging for both Neuville and for Tanak, obviously. But for me, Toyota have something about them right now. They really do. You know, we've got Elfyn Evans, who unexpectedly is very much a challenger this year. We've got a reinvigorated Sébastien Ogier, who is looking really confident and looking, you might say, as favourite to take his 7th World Championship title. And then you've got Kalle Rovanperä, who could do anything this year. And you know what? Absolutely fanciful and mad as it sounds, would it be a surprise if he won the title this year? Not if we get 3 or 4 or 5 new rallies before the end of the year. So, yeah, it's been a great week of testing here in Finland. I think we've learned quite a lot. We'll have to wait and see. Listen, what we really want, though, folks, is to get back out on the stages. And you know where you're going to find all of the news about the calendar, about the developments, about potential cancellations. Stick with us, folks, at DirtFish.com. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you with us this week. DirtFish.com, the place for all your rally news, information, gossip and fun.